residents of a Rumodogbo community in Imohua local government area of Rivers State can now sleep with their eyes closed as operatives of the Force Intelligence Response Team (IRT) have arrested 3 members of a notorious kidnap gang terrorizing the community and Portharcourt city. It was gathered that members of the gang, who operated with 2 pump-action guns and AK-47 rifle, loaded with 4 magazines and 120 rounds of live ammunition, usually kidnapped their victims from Portharcourt city and took them to their camps in Chuba area of the state, where they would be kept for days before ransoms were paid for their release. Police sources disclosed that the Inspector General of Police was alerted in October 2020 about the gang's activities after 5 members of OASPAC vigilance outfit were killed and beheaded when they confronted members of the gang at a Rumodogbo community. A source explained that operatives of the IRT, headed by Deputy Commissioner of Police Abia was deployed to investigate and track down members of the gang. The source said, "When we commenced our investigations, we discovered that these kidnappers didn't reside in Rivers State, though they are natives of a Rumodogbo community, but they were based in Abia town and they came into Rivers State to carry out their kidnapping. They had their camp where they kept their victims in Chuba area, and they would drive into Portharcourt city to kidnap their victims. Their targets were mainly people driving flashy cars around highbrow neighborhoods within Portharcourt city, and these usually abandoned victims, cars after kidnapping them. They knew when security checkpoints along the road was relaxed, and they would transport them swiftly into their camp in a forest in Chuba area of Rivers State. We discovered from their victims we interviewed that the gang did not like wasting time with their victims. When they kidnapped a person, they usually would not demand huge amounts as ransom, and they would accept whatever was paid to them, release their victims, and moved on to kidnap another person. And by the end of the week, they would return to Abia State, where they all lived with their families as supposed responsible men." The killing and beheading of the OSPAC vigilante men was what gave them up, and it enabled us in generating enough intelligence that led to the arrest of 3 members of the gang, the source stated. 21-year-old Onyebuchi Amadi said, "I am from Emoha local government area of Rivers State. I am a tricycle operator and I am married with a child. I am a member of a Icelander confraternity, and it was one of my friends known as a Biggie that forced me into joining the cult group. We killed the OSAPC vigilante men because they were some people in our community. Because they killed some people in our community, we also beheaded them and took their heads round our community because we wanted it to serve as a deterrent to others, as we threatened to kill more vigilante men if they didn't leave our community. After I joined the cult group, we ventured into kidnapping and I took part in 7 operations. Biggie was our gang leader, and he was the person that led the kidnap operation where we kidnapped a woman from Portharcourt in July 2020, and we kept her at Choba for 3 days. We didn't sleep with the woman. Biggie was the person who negotiated the ransom, and I don't know how much was paid. He gave me 90,000 naira. On the second operation, we kidnapped a man from Portharcourt as well and kept him at Chuba, and without wasting time, ransom was paid and he was released, and I got 150,000 naira for the operation. On the third and fourth operations, we kidnapped 2 men separately from Portharcourt and took them to our camp. They didn't waste time with us before their ransom was paid, and I got 90,000 naira and 110,000 naira as my share respectively. On the 5th operation, 4 of force went for the operation where we kidnapped a man around Chuba area and took him into our camp. One of our gang members, known as Augustine, negotiated the ransom and we collected 300,000 naira from the victim as ransom while I got 80,000 naira as my share. When we went to Rumumasi area and kidnapped another man, we kept him at Chuba and I got 50,000 naira from his ransom. I also kidnapped a man at a Ilozu area and I got 80,000 naira from it. My last operation was the kidnap of an Indian national and it was Augustine that brought the job. We kidnapped the man at a Rumola and kept him at Chuba. The man spent 4 days with us and 2 million naira was paid as ransom and I got 200,000 naira as my share. I relocated to Abia town because I didn't want the police to arrest me in Rivers State because of my atrocities, but the police traced me down to Abia where I was eventually arrested. In his own confession, Ubu Rize Omesi, 28, also a native of a Rumudogbo in Emohua local government area of Rivers State, stated that he joined the kidnap gang because of the hardship brought about by the COVID-19 lockdown. He said, I am married with 2 children. I had no education and I am a tricycle rider. I was arrested because I took part in this dirty job. It was one Onyebuchi that invited me to be part of the group and I joined because things were very hard for me as I could no longer fend for my family. I wasn't part of the team that went out to kidnap the victim, but I was one of those watching over the victim at the camp. I spent 1 week with the victim in the camp and was guarding him with one AK-47 rifle with 3 magazines loaded with 90 rounds of live ammunition. But I left the camp after 1 week because Onyebuchi, who was our boss, refused to provide food for us. I don't know how the victim was released, but Onyebuchi later gave me 30,000 naira. Oh, see story. Well, Wike should ask their people to stop bearing Igbo names. Enough of this damage. May God continue to protect his children and provide for all. Even doesn't pay, let us do good. Now, wow, I heard that if these criminals had carried out such successful operations in the northern parts of the country, they would have been qualified for an amnesty and for scholarship to oversee. Onyebuchi Amadi from Emoha, River State, answering Igbo names and giving Ndigbo bad image, and tomorrow he will say he's an Ikwerema and not Igbo. Mad people everywhere. Wike would have accused Igbo of Southeast if these boys didn't confess. You can imagine. So guys, let's hear your opinion. Let's have your take on this.